This is different to most of what I talk about because it doesn't concern traditionalism or any other political philosophy, but instead it concerns grand strategy and the future shape of the world. The United States is the most powerful country on earth. Not many would dispute that. It still has the largest economy, largest navy and air force, some would argue the most powerful army, even if it isn't the biggest, and we haven't mentioned its nuclear might. It has a population of more than 300 million with a higher standard of living and still has large amounts of natural resources. It also has enormous cultural influences, and its currency is seen as the world standard. Much of the same could once have been said of the British Empire, but that empire is now gone, and in many ways Britain is living off the prestige of that empire. That is not to say modern Britain doesn't have power or influence. It does, but nothing compared to what it once had. It has been fortunate for all the English-speaking countries that one English-speaking country with all of the common culture and shared heritage was replaced by another English-speaking country as the world's most powerful country. Sadly, the United States as a superpower is nearing the time when it will no longer be able to remain a superpower. A superpower being defined as a nation that is widely regarded, even by its enemies, as a world leader. The British Empire wasn't a superpower, but the Soviet Union was, because it was regarded by even its enemies as a world leader. But the British Empire was the most powerful of a range of other great powers, France and Russia, for example. I'm not suggesting that the United States will fall into obscurity, but it will lose its superpower status. The United States will lose its superpower status for two broad reasons. One, it is not doing anything to seriously retard or stop its declining power. And two, other nations are rising in power relative to the United States. That means that within most of our lifetimes, we will see a return to what existed before World War II, a number of great powers. The most likely of the great powers are Europe, or some type of European power, maybe NATO, Russia, India, China, and the United States. An argument can be made against each of these being a great power, and they have merit, but I believe that each will find a place in the future international order. I haven't yet set out why American power is declining, so let me do that here. The United States, like much of the West, has a number of serious issues that no one in power, or likely to gain power, has any idea of how to address. The cheapening of university education and the coming destruction of higher education. The loss of confidence in both liberal economics and democratic institutions. The large debt that no one has any idea of how to pay, but that hasn't stopped more money from being borrowed or printed, each dangerous in its own way. Mass immigration and mass illegal immigration, each a problem. And for superpower status, it both shows the weakness of the American state. It cannot even enforce its own laws. But it also changes the population, and that common culture and heritage is destroyed. The assumptions that could once be made about the United States cannot be made anymore, just as happened with Britain. It will take time for these things to occur, but unless something makes them change, this is what will happen. I think it will be a much worse world than the one we currently live in, because for all of the faults of the United States, it does stand by its allies, and it will help even non-allies if they need assistance. Nothing contributes to world stability more than the idea that the United States is the most powerful country on earth. If China or India were the most powerful country, would they do the same? I do not believe that they would. They are much more isolationist than the United States is. When the United States ceases to be a superpower, we will miss it much more than we think.